Hello, ladies and gentlemen, it's Naeem. Now, I have taken a break from doing my daily YouTube videos because I finally finished journal. Now, I was trying to figure out what could I possibly do this year. Now, some things were recurring in my mind, but I feel something appropriate and something I wanted to do for a while is poetry. Now, this, I could take the audio version and turn it into a podcast, and that would be a 2-in-1 because I've wanted to do a poetry podcast. But the plan for this series is once per week, I will go to Poetry Foundation and look at their poem of the day, recite it, and give sort of my commentary. Now, that sounds quite basic, but it will incentivize me to read poetry more, and it will incentivize people like yourself to sort of understand that poetry doesn't always have to be in the English literature class. I'm sure we did English lit in school, and I mean we felt forced to at points, but I think poetry can be as informational as non-fiction. And in fact, I've read somewhere that, you can have really jam-packed philosophical concepts in poems said in such a exotic way. So today's, and I may put a screenshot, poem is by John Keats, who I've read back years ago but never fully comprehended. And the poem is Ode on Melancholy, and I do remember this poem quite vaguely, but I do remember it in my English class. And here we go. So I will recite it. No, go not to Leith, neither twist wolf's bane, tight-rooted for its poisonous wine, nor suffer thy pale forehead to be kissed by nightshade, ruby grape, or proserpine. Make not your rosary of yew-berries, nor let the beetle, nor the death moth be your mournful psyche, nor the downy owl, a partner in your sorrow's mystery. For shade to shade will come too drowsily, and drown the wakeful anguish of the soul. But when the melancholy fit shall fall, sudden from heaven like a weeping cloud that fosters the droop-headed flowers all, and hide the green hill in an April shroud, then glut thy sorrow on a morning rose, or on the rainbow of the salt sand wave, or on the wealth of globed peonies, or, if thy mistress some rich anger shows, imprison her soft hand and let her rave, and feed deep, deep upon her peerless eyes. She dwells with beauty, beauty that must die, and joy, whose hand is ever at his lips, bidding adieu, and aching pleasure nigh, turning to poison while the bee mouth sips. Aye, in the very temple of delight, veiled melancholy has a sovereign shine, though seen of none save him whose strenuous tongue can burst joy's grape against his palate fine. His soul shall taste the sadness of her might, and be among her cloudy trophies hung. Now that is the poem, and because I've just had this idea, I am reading it for the first time, and I will not fully comprehend it, so I am debating how to pursue this. But I think the lines that sort of stand out for me is, but when the melancholy fit shall fall sudden from heaven like a weeping cloud. And I feel a lot of us feel this way sometimes, where we're going sort of living day by day naturally, and one doesn't really reflect, especially this day and age, like our thoughts and feelings or stories of the events that's happening in our lives, because we're constantly sort of reading the news, we're constantly looking forward to something else tomorrow or whatever, and we're never really like reflecting. And because of that, out of nowhere, your emotional side of you will just suddenly burst into a weeping cloud, into sort of just naturally you're building and bottling all this stuff that you're not really thinking about and consciously. And naturally your body sort of naturally, when you feel hungry or need to go to the loo, like your body expels this. Likewise, your body kind of naturally has to expel the overloading of emotions. There's some words and some concepts that I'm not quite fully understanding, and naturally, I'm using the word naturally a lot. Poetry is never understood on the first read, nor on the second or the third. There's a lot of stuff. So I am figuring out how to, and please comment how I should best provide commentary. But she dwells with beauty, beauty that must die. Now, I don't know who the she is there, but I guess in a way, because it's the name of the poem's Ode to Melancholy, in a way, melancholy is as beautiful as the opposite of melancholy, which would be joy. I say with intonation. Some people view it inherently bad, and sort of dictionary definitions would say melancholy is bad. But the human experience sort of requires melancholy. I personally sort of take the Aristotle's meme, I forgot the concept, but the idea that vice and virtue are on a scale, and you sort of need both. To be completely heroic is somewhat foolish, but the opposite of heroism would be cowardice, right? And that also is foolish, right? There is this sort of middle ground where we require something of a heroic and courageous virtue, but we don't want to be too rash, nor do we want to be too cowardice. Likewise, melancholy could be quite useful to an extent. It's not inherently a bad thing. It can sort of drive us to better ourselves, and so it can be beautiful. Or on the rainbow of the salt sand wave. That paints a nice picture. Sand waves, I'm thinking of sand waves, and rainbow, sort of again beautifying something that's quite bland, which is what melancholy is. Like, melancholy is this sort of dry, boring place. It doesn't have to be. You can sprinkle that rainbow. So yeah, I mean, I could go further, but please let me know what you've taken from the poem. Once again, I may turn this into a podcast so that I have more reach. And please let me know how I can improve this, because it's a spur of the moment thing, and I want to do one poem per week so that I can sort of better provide commentary and actually understand the poem a bit more, as opposed to doing what I'm doing now, which is sort of on the cuff. Perhaps I could pick a poem for Monday and then research that and provide commentary on next Monday or on the weekend, so that I have a few days to deal with the poem. But yeah, please like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you next week. Peace.